Most people think you need to invent some crazy new product or spend years building an audience to make real income online. That's just not true. I started with a simple Ecom product and made my first $1 million by 23 years old. I'm now 25. In this video, I'll show you how I went from testing random products that would flop to launching products and building a brand that completely changed my life, and how you can do it too. I've been in the e-commerce space for years now. I started testing small products when I was in college, had some mediocre success, then started helping other people grow their brands since I already had the skills needed. And then once I saved up some more money, I launched a product on Amazon, and that's when things really began to take off. So let's start from the very beginning, because I wasn't always making millions of dollars. I started just like anyone else, trying to figure out how to make money online. And this stuff does not happen overnight, but if you focus on the right things, eventually success becomes inevitable, because you'll get to a point where it won't make sense not to succeed because you understand how the game works on a fundamental level. So for myself, this whole thing started when I was in high school. My mother was a flight attendant, and when she'd go to China, I would take orders from students at my school. My mom would buy random products for me, and I would flip them to students for a profit. I even ended up going to China with my mom to source products and negotiate myself. I realized that making money from products wasn't super difficult, but what I was doing definitely wasn't the most efficient way. So a few months later, I searched up how to make money online, and that's when I got hit with reality. I lost thousands of dollars on my first products, not realizing that there were so many rules selling products online, especially on Amazon, and I didn't understand the terms of service, which led me to selling a product they deemed restricted, which was a money gun. And the restricted part was the play money. So after a few small wins and failures, I started helping other e-commerce businesses and Amazon sellers grow their stores. And that's where everything really started to click. And a bit of a common misconception: if at first you can't make a product scale for yourself just because maybe you don't have enough capital to invest into ads and inventory, then the next logical thing to do is get paid to help someone else scale their product. And so I basically got paid to practice the game of e-com and building brands around physical products. I actually had a listing up on Fiverr during the pandemic, helping people with product research. And after a few months, I had my first client and received a good review, then another and another, until I actually became the #1 freelancer for Amazon mentors on Fiverr. In fact, they actually put me in one of their ads. And so I noticed a lot of new sellers simply had no idea how to choose products. They'd make emotional-based decisions as opposed to data-driven. Also, many sellers didn't understand the rules of Amazon, similarly to me when starting. So having gone through my initial failure, I knew what to look out for. And the biggest thing I learned from helping new sellers launch products was how crucial differentiation was. It was and is so important that sellers do something to make their product stand out amongst the competitors. Otherwise, you'll be lost in the sea of competition. It was also very clear that most sellers did not focus on the long-term game of building a brand, which is crucial. And throughout my journey of working with multiple different new and current sellers who are always looking to scale, I always remember one person in particular. He was selling medical device equipment on Amazon, generating over $250,000 every single month. So that was some real motivation for me to start focusing more on my own products. So after helping scale other people's brands and products, I decided to take what I'd learned and do it for myself. And that's when everything changed. I used the same methods I helped others with to find my first winning product, a smell-proof bag. And at the time, I used a tool called Jungle Scout to validate the demand in competition. I now use a tool called Zombase. What these tools do is they allow you to verify how much money a given product is making, the competition, historical search volume, and more. Basically a way for us to make data-driven decisions as opposed to emotional based, as I mentioned before. Like I said, a lot of sellers disregarded the branding of their products, and that's where I saw an opportunity. So I ensured our branding was superior to the other competitors, and I also added a few bonus items to provide more value to the consumer. We ended up facing a pretty major challenge upon launching. Because of the category our product was in, we're unable to run PPC, which stands for pay-per-click. This is Amazon's internal advertising system, but it was restricted because of the category we were in. So we had to rely only on organic traffic, which luckily, due to the branding and differentiation, the product still sold really well. And so I pretty well knew in the first month things were taking off as we hit $10,000 with zero advertising. And once the product started working, the next challenge was scaling, and that's where a lot of people fail. It's not as simple as just increasing ad budget or making more organic content in order to scale. You need to start thinking about systems and also delegation. So the first role I hired for was a general virtual assistant. Their main job was to deal with seller support and also just keep an eye on inventory, making sure we didn't run out of stock. Also keeping the Amazon listings optimized, title, bullet points, etc. So as we began to grow, having a VA help with the inventory and the suppliers made it a lot easier to stay on top of everything. For example, when we were thinking of launching a new product or variation, we could solely focus on that while being assured our other products were being taken care of. And we built a good relationship with our supplier and really never had any issues with quality. And a big part of that was due to getting inspections done on new orders almost every single time. That way we kept quality top notch and continued having positive customer reviews. One of the mistakes I did make though was focusing on launching new products rather than just scaling with variations of the product that was already doing well. And the transition from handling most things myself to continuously outsourcing more and more was a big challenge. And it was hard for me to delegate tasks and really trust that others would do as good of a job as me. Although when you can hire people who are just as good, if not better than you at a certain task, it is an absolute game changer. And I think my biggest aha moment through all of this was realizing that once I had an understanding of how to launch one product from scratch, it was all about rinsing and repeating that exact same system. You want to grow? Do the same thing you did over and over again. That's how you're going to scale. So now that I've been through the ups and downs, here's what I'd tell anyone who wants to start their own e-com business, especially if it's on Amazon. First of all, begin with the end in mind. What is it you're trying to build here, right? Are you selling random products in a bunch of different niches, or are you actually wanting to build a long-term, truly valuable brand? So you want to have a plan of action and really execute relentlessly on that. And also don't be dumb like I was and go in blindly. Learn the process before diving straight into it, because you are going to spend a lot of time and money on this business, so do it right. And the big mindset trap new sellers fall into is that you're going to get rich quick. That's not what Amazon FBA is, nor is e-commerce as a whole. It is a long-term game that you can build real wealth with if you are persistent. If not, you'll be like 99% of the other sellers who give up because their life didn't change after a few months. And also keep in mind that you can start small. Sure, having capital does help speed up the process in the short term, but the difference between someone starting with 3K and 10K is really insignificant in the long term. And lastly, I wish I truly understood the process step by step before starting, as there's so many nuanced details involved in the process that are crucial for success. And if you mess up one of those things, it can screw up your entire launch. So if you want to start your own Amazon brand but don't know where to begin, I put together a free Amazon course and community so you can learn everything I wish I knew when I started, and you'll get to connect with people on the same path. Links in the description. Join for free, start learning, and let's build your brand together.